Good morning, welcome back to my channel. We are starting this Tuesday with a very dreaded task, which is cleaning out the bag that I've been using the last several days. I don't know if this happens to anybody else. It has to. Like, this has to be like a universal thing, but or maybe it's just because I'm a type B mom, I don't know. But my bag just ends up completely full of the most random things at all times. And we went to like a little kids adventure place over the weekend, and I realized I was like, my bag feels really unnecessarily heavy. So it was just time. So I feel like that's a little favor that I can do for myself this morning, just to make my days a little bit easier, a little bit more enjoyable to experience. Also, breakfast for the toddler, who is very deep in play mode these days. Look, I see. Very into building, very into pretend play. We got this Paw Patrol tower off of Facebook Marketplace for $10. And we have all of the Paw Patrol dogs and cars that he got for Christmas this year. So that's been a big hit. So loving anything at the moment that keeps us off screens. Because I'll be honest, the last several months we've been relying very heavily on screens just because work has been busy and all of the things. But yeah, so let's clean out my bag. I'm trying something new. I'm making a big batch of green tea. I have an idea. It may or may not work out, but we'll see. But before any of that, it's window goodbye time. Mom! We get in the window and we wave goodbye to Dad as he leaves. Yep. Yeah, a very dirty windowsill. Bye, Daddy. Bye, Dad. Okay. My idea with this is green tea is supposedly really good for you. We know this. It's full of antioxidants. It helps supposedly with brain fog. It helps with weight management, all of these things. I love a good refreshing afternoon drink, especially as the weather starts to get warm. And I used to make, you guys have probably seen it 100 times on this vlog. Oh, cool. Where I was making essentially my own loaded tea at home. This is gonna be kind of like that, except not at all. I am batch making, I'm brewing green tea, and then I'm gonna let this cool off, and I'm gonna put it in carafe, or I'm gonna put it in this and put it in the fridge. So I essentially have brewed cold green tea, and then I'm gonna mix it with other little flavorings that I have. And we're gonna see how that goes, because I'd like to drink more green tea. I'm getting to that age where I need to be consuming things that are good for me. Not that there's an age for that, but you know what I mean. But honestly, just straight up green tea, not my jam. So we're gonna see how this goes. I feel like this is probably brewed enough. Can you over brew tea? I feel like you probably can. So we are getting ready to head out to go meet friends for a play date at that coffee shop I've mentioned before. But before we do that, I am going to transfer the tea. Oh, that was perfect. I bought this weck jar for sourdough, but so far I haven't needed to have this much starter at one time. So I do also think I have what I need to seal this. Maybe. There we go. That was easy. It's probably still a little too hot to put in the fridge, but honestly, it's gonna have to do because we gotta go. Before we go though, I do need to quickly like put together some type of lunch for the kiddo because he eats car lunch on the way to school. We won't be coming back here before we leave for school. We're gonna go to school straight from the coffee shop. Gotta clean off some straws and put together his little car lunch kit, which I use these little bento boxes, which are great. I feel like we've used them a ton, especially for car lunches, but as summer comes, I feel like we're gonna use these so much more just for like picnics and park dates and all of those things. I just feel like, especially now that he's not napping, the reality of us like coming back to home base throughout the day, especially living out as far as we do, I just don't see that being in our future. So it'll be nice to have these little things. How many times can a mom reheat the same cup of coffee in one morning? The limit, my friends, does not exist. It does not exist. Not gonna lie, also this little over the sink drying mat has made such a difference in my life. It's such a small thing. You guys know how I am. Like, if I can find even just the smallest thing that's gonna make any kind of difference, I'm here for it. Which, speaking of, I think I've shared this before, but washing your fruit and prepping it the way that you would normally serve it. So for like strawberries, I cut them up and then storing them in a sealed mason jar, especially strawberries, which you guys, the berry budget, out of control. And I only have one kid, so I can't even imagine what it's like for those of you that have multiples. I thought they were joking. Like when I saw the memes online when I had an infant, I was like, berries are not going to be that big of a deal in our lives. Oh, was I wrong? Oh, was I wrong? They store and keep so much longer in a sealed mason jar after you clean them. I've done the whole like Tupperware with the paper towel in it, and that works. It just doesn't work as well as this. So is it additional time on the front end to go ahead and prep it now? Yes. Do I have this time to spare? Not really, because we probably already need to be in the car, but I know I'm gonna have to take this stuff out to prep just the littlest bit for him to take with us in the car. I might as well just go ahead and do the whole batch right now, because then it'll save me time in the future, which anything again that I can do as a favor to my future self in this season of chaos in life, I'm gonna do it. The next day, obviously, or maybe it's not so obvious. I don't know how you live your life, but it is the next day. Honestly, yesterday it was one of those days that like was non-stop, and sometimes those are really great days to film. Other times you are just hanging on for dear life, and I was hanging on for dear life. By the time the day ended, like my husband got home really late yesterday. They had their last spring ball practice. So he missed like bath and bedtime, which is usually like his domain, which is a great system that we have going, because usually by time it's like dinner time, I'm out. Like my patience is gone. My stamina is gone. Again, I wake up at 5 a.m. and I'm like going from the moment my eyeballs open, and it's a good system. So when it's not the system, by the end of the day, your girl is struggling. And it just didn't really occur to me until it was happening that I was like, oh, yeah, he's not going to be home for bath and bed. I mean, he communicated that he was going to be late, but it just didn't really dawn on me what that meant necessarily. I probably would have organized our day a little differently had I realized that, because we were nonstop. And we went from the coffee shop story time to playground, from the playground to school. While Wade was in school, usually I have a chance to kind of like run a couple errands or like focus on work for a minute. Usually I can eat my lunch and all of that kind of good stuff. But while he was in school, I had therapy. So while therapy is really good, it's also very draining. And from there, we went to my mom's because Wade was asking to, and he wanted to go to the playground. And then from there, we had to pick up dinner and eat it on the way home. And then it was bath and bedtime, and he was exhausted by then as well. So he was just kind of like melting down, as I was as well. And I'm a full-grown adult, to the point that like I've been working really hard on not losing my cool, at least outwardly. I communicate it, but I am a person, it's like, I'm ashamed to admit this, but like, I am a person that like, I have a temper and I yell and like, I immediately feel bad. And I do make a habit of like apologizing and communicating when I'm yelling at him that like, this is about mommy, it's not about you. Like, I try to make those things clear, but lately I've just been really trying to, nothing good comes from me like outwardly exploding. It just isn't productive, but it's easier said than done. Like, you can know that on an intellectual level and not be able to like do anything with that information in that heated moment. But we were trying to do bath time. He was melting down. He wasn't doing what I was asking him to do, which was really frustrating me because again, I was just at my limit. Like, I was at my limit. And when we were in his bedroom doing pajamas, I like had a moment where I was like, Mommy, you okay? I'm like, no, mommy is very frustrated right now. Like, I'm getting angry. I'm feeling really frustrated. And I need a second. Well, we have this like giant dinosaur that we had bought when he was in one of the preschools that he was getting kicked out of. One of the impulses that he has is grabbing. It is not a behavior. It is not something he is cognitively doing. We didn't really know that at this time, we didn't know this at that time. So I had this idea that I'd get him this dinosaur that like whenever he felt like he needed to grab something, to grab that instead of his friends. Obviously good in theory, not in execution, because it's not a decision he was making. So it wasn't like he had that thought of like, oh, I'm gonna grab something, or I wanna grab something, let me grab this instead. It just isn't how it's an impulse. Like, it's something that just happens like involuntarily. We didn't know that at this time. Well, he's not at that preschool anymore. And so now the dinosaur lives in his bedroom. And when I was getting frustrated, he went and got the dinosaur, handed it to me and goes, squeeze this, mommy, it'll make you feel better. And then like, as I was squeezing it, he came and like stood around like my side, put his hand on my back and just started like patting my back and like looking at me like to see like, are you feeling better? And instantly, like everything in me just melted. I was like, it just was one of those parenting moments where I'm like, okay, I'm doing something right. If he knows that like, it's okay to have a big emotion and that there is a healthy way to express that emotion and like cope with it. I was like, oh, okay. But either way, anyway, it was just not a day that filming was gonna be a priority, because the priority was to survive. I hate how dramatic that sounds, but like, it just is how some of those days go. Like I said, we were just going from one thing to another and it was a lot. Today, a little less jam-packed, still full, but a little less jam-packed. I've gotten my walk in already. I've washed my hair, which was very desperately needed to be done, and did quite a bit of work already. And I'll go to school. While Wade is at school, I'm actually going to have lunch with one of the moms, which I think I've talked about this before, that I really appreciate about this school is that they prioritize like the community aspect for the parents. If you're new and you have no idea like who I am or what my situation is, my son is in a special education preschool. It took us many years to like figure this out and get him in a place that allows him to thrive as the brilliant little human that he is, instead of like trying to compartmentalize him into a box that he's just not going to fit into no matter how hard you try, as he shouldn't, as any of us shouldn't. But one of the aspects of this school, obviously it's great for the kiddos, but the programmers are very hell-bent on making sure that the parents are also supported. And one of those parts of it is like having community and friends that are parents of neurospicy littles, because parenting a neurospicy little looks very different than parenting a typical little. And the differences may be so minute to the outside world, but they feel enormous on the inside. And anyway, through those community building events, I've connected with one of the moms. We're gonna go get lunch. We're like taking the friendship out of like the source of the group and seeing if we can like explore friendship on our own, which is always really tricky to do as an adult. It feels like you're shooting your shot when you're like, hey, do you wanna go get lunch sometime? Like, why is that so hard to do? Like, when we were kids and you're like, hi, do you wanna play? It felt so different. And my kid is so brave when it comes to that. And I look at him and with like admiration, because I'm like, golly, you will just go up to anybody and be like, I'm Wade, let's play. Like, I wanna be like, hi, I'm Joey, let's be friends. But anyway, going to lunch with her, and then the rest of the day looks very normal. But I'm gonna finish getting ready. I have some things I wanna talk to you about what I spoke about with my therapist yesterday. So I'll be right back once I'm not trying to do two things at once. Okay, I'm gonna try, to make this drink. Are you all done? So that definitely seals. I'm making that green tea drink. Again, I've never made this before. Not sure how I'm gonna feel about it. When in doubt, add blue raspberry. Now add a little bit of water, and then adding some ice. Well, that'll do. Not a blueberry. And I'm trying to do this quickly because I forgot I have groceries that I need to bring in from the car. Does anybody else do that? I think it's mostly just because we're in the car for so long that like by the time we get home, I'm so eager to get in the house. First of all, I usually have to pee, which is just like the story of my life. Yeah? Maybe a little more blue raz. It's not bad, it's just kind of flavorless. Pretty good. Basically, I'm really just trying to consume more green tea. So like anything that's gonna allow me to consume it, I'll do. This is good enough for me. I'm coming. I have a high need to wipe. It's gonna be kind of loud because bath time is happening in the other room and it tends to be chaos. Just like this week has been. It is Thursday evening. This week has been a lot. It's been a lot. And I think that's just how life is gonna be at the moment. It's just full and it's a lot, and that's okay. It's all very good, just very busy, and that feels good to feel good about for the first time in a while, which brings me to what I wanted to talk about really quickly. I know I mentioned earlier in this vlog that I wanted to discuss what my therapist and I talked about in our session on Tuesday, but I do want to leave you with the thought to kind of ponder over and see if it resonates for you, because it's something that I am actively working to improve in my life. And the concept is I tend to acquiesce and call it compromise, and that's not right. And that's in pretty much every avenue of my life. However, where it's been most prevalent lately has been in more intimate type of relationships. So close friends, family, my partner, etc. And it's not necessarily like anything that's causing massive problems, but it is something that I'm starting to, at least internally, kind of buck up against. And I am somebody who years ago used to have programming all about boundaries, and I used to have like this statement that I would use often where it's like, stop disappointing yourself in favor of pleasing somebody else, which is very true. I can preach it, I can't seem to practice it. And over the last, I would say since like early December, I have been very actively trying to take myself into consideration with everything and anything going on in my life, from friendships to conflict to what I'm saying yes to and what I'm saying no to. And a big piece of that, which is primarily what my therapist and I were kind of talking about on Tuesday, is in order to do that, you first you first have to know who you are, what's important to you, what you are willing to and not willing to accept or tolerate, and have some set of standard, but then also have the confidence and the courage to stand behind those things, which generally comes from a place of self-respect and a little bit of self-assurance, right? That like, no, this is what I'm saying. This is how I feel. This is what I am or am not willing to accept. I'm willing to compromise, which means we're both meeting in the middle somewhere or meeting somewhere not where we're currently standing. Whereas, like I said, I was essentially acquiescing, where there would be some discourse and I would go over here and call it a compromise. And then I was wondering why internally I was miserable or struggling or feeling that like, almost like trapped feeling, or that feeling of like, this isn't fair. Yeah, no kidding, it's not fair, because I just did what the other person wanted without showing myself any sense of respect. And then I blamed the other person for it when it really wasn't their fault, because I didn't stand firm in anything. And what is that quote? Like, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for everything. That was essentially kind of how I was living my life. But I didn't see it as a problem. I saw it as being kind and friendly and easygoing and not difficult. And that's not necessarily true, because I wasn't treating myself with any respect. And so also, in order obviously to get to that place, you need to have those sets of standards and know yourself well enough to be able to stand on those things. And again, have that self-assurance that you're willing to compromise, but you're not willing to abandon yourself or your beliefs or your morals to a certain degree, and know that you're going to be okay standing firm in that. And I have had some practice with that recently, where I've had to set really hard and strict boundaries to, I don't know if you can hear me at all. I shut their door, but I don't know if it's gonna make enough of a difference. I don't wanna stop them from having fun because they're having a really good time, but they are very loud. I've had some practice where I've had to set those really firm boundaries and get myself to a place where I had to accept that in standing firm in those boundaries, or by standing firm in those boundaries, that I very well may end up losing the thing that I'm standing against, and be okay with that. And it's not comfortable, it never is. And I will say that having done that, I've done it quite a bit, but I have two instances that were really they were attached to a lot of pain, and basically opened the door to feeling a lot of feelings that I didn't necessarily want to feel. But I also knew that by setting that boundary, or I knew that setting the boundary was the right thing to do, even if it did ultimately cause me some sadness and pain and grief. It was the right thing to do. And it wasn't easy to do either. Like, it was going to hurt people, it was going to hurt myself, but it was the right thing to do. And it's something that I feel like the more we do, the more comfortable we'll get with it. And I'm not saying you need to do like really hard and rigid boundaries in your life, but like in the topic of this conversation, the things that just popped into your head that you're like, ooh, the places in which this may be relevant in your life. And I just have to give you some encouragement to know that, as uncomfortable as it is to navigate into that space, you're only going to be better off for it. And that was the thing that I spoke about with my therapist, where I was like, no matter, with those two big things that I had to set the boundary for, I knew I was opening the door to a lot of unknown and a lot of potential pain and grief. but I also was certain that regardless of however this played out, I was going to be better off for it, for having set the boundary. And so I just wanted to kind of leave you with that information and allow you to kind of think over how that may be relevant in your life. If it's relevant in your life, it may not be. And if that's the case, I admire you. I admire you even if it is relevant in your life, but it is something I am aspiring to be better at. And like all things, it comes with practice. It's not fun, it's not easy, it's not comfortable, but it is important, and I'm proud of myself for the work that I've been doing on it. And I hope that by bringing up this topic of conversation, it may allow you to start thinking about how it may be implemented in your own life. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and end today's video, which is over the course of many days. Sorry for the chaos of it. I hope that's okay, because that's probably what you're gonna find pretty often on this channel. Anyway, if you resonated with this content at all, or you just feel like we could be friends, go ahead and subscribe, like, comment down below, and let me know if this is something that you feel like you need to work on in your life and how I could support you in that. And I will see you all again very, very soon. Bye.